My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Beetlejuice. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But if you know me, you know that this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I have watched it so many times, and I just love it so very much. So let's begin talking about the cast. And the first time I watched this movie, I did not recognize Alec Baldwin, but he does do a really good job here. He just comes across as the most sincere and genuine guy, and he does everything he needed to perfectly. Gina Davis is also really good. She's charming and likable, and I really bought these two as a married couple. Then we've got Jeffrey Jones, who doesn't have much to do, but he stands out enough. And same thing with Catherine O'Hara. She's not a main character, but she brought enough personality to her character. We've got Glenn Shaddix as Otho, who I think stands out. He kind of comes across as a villain, but it's all kind of just accidental, but he does do a very good job with that. And Winona Ryder is just fantastic here. You can tell that she is depressed and lonely, and she just wants to be loved. And you're really sympathetic towards her, but she can also pull off the strange and unusual part of her character incredibly as well. It is a great performance, but the standout performance is Michael Keaton. He is absolutely phenomenal here. He should have won an Oscar for this movie. It's one of my favorite performances of all time. It's just perfect. He brings so much personality and zaniness and menace to this perverted scumbag, and whenever he's on screen, you just can't look away. It is such a high energy performance, and it's so good that people think he's in the movie more than he actually is, but regardless, he still stands out significantly. But I'm not sure if I can call him the star of this movie despite how phenomenal he is, because I think the real star of this movie is Tim Burton. Look, I know he has made some shit, but he is still one of my favorite directors of all time because this late 80s, early 90s one is just unbelievable. He brought so much to this movie, and it's just incredible to behold. Let's begin talking about the lighting because, of course, this movie is shot beautifully by Thomas E. Ackerman, but I love the use of the green lighting and how that kind of adds to the land of the dead. It's just really well captured, and each scene is brought to life so incredibly well. The production design is fantastic. Not just of the land of the dead and that weird, disorientating hallway, but even what the Deets end up doing to the house and how it ends up looking. It's just so creative and out there that nobody else could have made this movie the same way. I also love how he utilizes his love of stop motion. It just brings this movie to life so well. You can say that the scenes with the sandworm look dated, but I also think that's part of the movie's charm. And at the end, when the furniture comes alive, you can just tell it just looks great. And the practical effects in this movie are also perfection. There is so much going on in this movie, and whether it's some dude's shrunken head, or these skeletons typing at a desk, or this one dude who is just burnt to a crisp, or even the scene where he takes his eyeballs out and puts them on his fingers and stretches his face out. And then when she opens up her mouth and puts her eyes on her tongue, it's just so incredible. It really is. I just have so much love for this movie. And I do think it's quite funny. I've watched it so many times now to the point where I don't laugh as much, but I still love so much of the humor. The Dale scene is just a perfect cheesy 80s moment, I find. And, some of the jokes of the dude who's trying to quit smoking and he's just completely burnt to a crisp, or the fact that Juno smokes and it comes out her throat. There's just so many clever jokes and it's just done effortlessly. And I love the story being told as well. It's just so out there and so creative and unique. Like, it's about this couple that ends up dying and they have to haunt their house, but soon other people buy it and they want to scare them away, but due to the fact they're just genuine good people, they're not good at scaring people. So they debate whether or not they should hire a bioexorcist by the name of Beetlejuice to scare off the family. And it's just so creative. Like, and the movie perfectly escalates throughout, where they build up the threat of Beetlejuice and what kind of a person he is. And, the climax of this movie is like 3 minutes long, but it just has so much chaotic energy and it's just so zany and it's actually rather tense. And I find the escalation of events leading up to that so great. I really do. But I also do think there's also some great deeper character work here about this couple who always wanted kids and then they die before they're given that chance, and they find a way to go about it in death where they help raise Lydia. I think there's something oddly moving about that, and everything with Lydia about how she's depressed, she wants to die, and she's just lonely, and she comes across these girls who actually come to love her. There's a real sweetness in that story as well. I also think this Danny Elfman's score also captures that chaotic energy of this movie ever so perfectly. Like I said, the finale is just great. Like Michael Keaton's delivery being like, I swear, she meant nothing. And, oh, do I really want to go through with this? Just so many great lines and, the stakes, and then them trying to say Beetlejuice, but he removes their jaw, and then he throws that steel plate on her mouth so she can't speak, and then when he speaks for Lydia, just so much. But Danny Elfman's score just adds to that finale so well, and it's just great. It is a fantastic score. But as much as I love the zany wackiness of this movie, I also find this movie to be terrifying, which is not something people would say about this movie typically, but like if you ask me what my greatest fears are, number one, hell, the possibility of it existing, and death. The idea that someday, well, we're gonna die, and nobody knows for certain what awaits us. If it's eternal life or suffering or just nothing, and I don't even know what I want it to be. Like, I don't know. It's something I legitimately struggle with. And I think the way this movie showcases it actually gets really under my skin about how, oh, somebody could die from choking on something and that's it. This is now their eternity. Or somebody gets ran over by a vehicle and now this is their eternity. There's something ever so unnerving about this movie, and even like I said, that scene where they stretch out their faces is quite funny. It's also the fact that they can do something like that. I don't know, it's maybe it's just me, but this movie actually does frighten me. Can I just think death? Because this movie is all about death, and I just think it's terrifying. But one of the scariest movie scenes of all time is the scene at the end where they're getting summoned, and soon they can't touch anything, and they're just decomposing and just fading away. And the scene is foreshadowed early on where we see the closet of the exorcised spirits, where it's death for the dead. And to see that showcased with our two main characters, and as we just see them looking at each other with such love but with such pain at the same time, it's just it's the thing of nightmares. Um, and yeah, so like I think this movie is funny. I love the imagination, the energy of this movie, but I do find it legitimately scary. And I just think Tim Burton is able to balance all of that ever so perfectly. I think the look of this movie is just phenomenal. It's one of the best looking movies of all time. I love the production design, the lighting, the cinematography. The practical effects are all top notch. Everyone does a great job, but Michael Keaton is delivering a career best performance here. It's just a movie unlike anything else, and I just hope the sequel can be at least half as good. But I'll give Beetlejuice a 9 out of 10. It's legitimately one of my favorite movies of all time. It would be in my top 20. But Beetlejuice, have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin,